Straight. Yeah, okay, I think I'm good now. Let's do this. Start. Okay, run it back.
Do it big, Balenciaga oversized. Need that whip, matte black with suicides. I won't miss, I put on that time for you.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Generation Z TV podcast. And today we're up to episode 10. So thank you all for supporting us for the first 9 episodes, and we hope to be here when we reach episode 100. So it's me and Tristan again, and today we're going to be talking about a big topic. You might have seen it all over the news lately, all over Facebook, all over Instagram, even my background right now on Zoom. So as you can see from my background, today's topic is, drum roll please. Okay, it is Squid Game. So Squid Game is a TV series on Netflix. If you haven't seen it before, it's currently number 1 in 90 countries around the world. So it's a huge phenomenon. Everyone's jumping on the hype train, and we thought we'll dedicate today's episode to Squid Game. So Tristan, shall we kick things off?
Yeah, well, just before we get started though, guys, I just want to put a little disclaimer up there that we'll most likely spoil some of these episodes for you guys. So if you haven't seen it yet, I don't recommend watching through, because we will probably mention a lot of the scenes that we're sort of going to reflect with, with our personal lives. Given that our topic, if you haven't seen yet, it's going to be life lessons from Squid Game. And, obviously we need to talk about the scenes and stuff. So if you guys haven't seen it yet, please watch it first, because this will make a lot more sense if you guys have seen it. I'm gonna go with number 1 for us.
Yeah, number 1. So as you guys probably have seen, there's so many life lessons you can learn from Squid Game, but these are our 10 sort of life lessons. If you have any more, then I guess you have to watch another YouTube video to find out that significance behind it. So maybe we can kick things off with number 1. The first thing we have down here is number 1, do not rush in life. So basically what this means is patience, have patience. So when we say don't rush, means slow down, take your time, and even to learn to think outside the box. And this relates to Squid Game because this was used primarily in the first game, which was red light, green light, and the second game, the honeycomb, the one where they make the shapes of the biscuit.
Yeah. No, I think it has been a common sort of theme throughout our podcast that we constantly mention and promote the whole idea of patience, especially with the things that you guys would do in life. You'll realize that nothing really comes easy, and there's always a journey along with everything you guys do, right? So we think that, with the hidden meanings and hidden stories with Squid Game, the way we watched it anyway is, I recall, I wasn't actually joining the hype train before. Justin actually told me to watch it, and I actually binged it in 2 days. It's quite amazing feat, I guess, just so we can talk about it in this episode. So I think that's a really good one, the whole patience thing. It's a common theme in our episode, so we'd do a special mention on that.
Yeah, because they mentioned if you guys have watched the episodes in the first game, red light, green light, the guy who was moving the fastest got killed first, and then after that everybody started dying because they were panicking and they just wanted to finish, get over the line first. But then, as you can see, even being the slowest ones, you can learn to even adapt even to the situation. You may not know what's going on at first. You may be worried, you may be scared, but you can learn how to overcome these fears, overcome these kind of situations, because this is the difference between life and death, as we can see in these episodes. One mistake and you're dead. So that's why this point number 1, don't rush, learn to be patient, is a big thing, and it's also a big life lesson you can apply to basically anything.
Yeah. Hey Justin, do you remember that little scene with the old man talking about the tug of war, how everybody in the chain has a role to play, right?
That's true.
So I thought that was a really cool little sort of side story or side lesson, right? Given that people always associate being strong and being the smartest in the room, but sometimes working together actually gets you through stuff. As you guys can see, the people that were you can say the protagonists in this, I'm going to try not turning this into an English lesson, but we're gonna keep it as simple as we can. If you sort of look at the scenes, right, and whatnot, they talk about all the roles and beating the hardest team out there. Teamwork is a big deal here as well, and I think that's what one of the main core messages of Squid Game was, if you guys think about it, it talks about how society should work together towards a common end goal rather than, fight against one another. Because at the end of the day, we're all just humans, right? And we're all just trying to make it somewhere in life. So that's one thing that really stuck into me, I think. How do you feel about that scene?
That scene, I wonder if it's actually if it actually can be used in real life, because I think they had three girls, one old guy, and the rest guys, and
Yeah.
they were up against a team of full males. So I think the advice there, it's possible. It's possible in a real life scenario that you could actually win. If you had that sort of team against a team of all males, there's a chance you could win if your team was prepared and if everybody worked together. Because as we said, the second point, everybody has a role to play. Whether you're old, young, male, female, you can contribute to the team because everyone's a team player. So without your effort, without your portion, then basically the whole team fails, right? So it's kind of like in work situations, in the work project, there's many people in a team and they have many functions, many specialties. But without that person, maybe it might be a lot harder to finish that task, or it might take you an extra day to finish that task. So you see how everyone has a role to play. So I think that scene was perfectly crafted because it really showed everyone's strengths, even though they may look weak on the outside, they may look small on the outside, but what matters is how much you can work as a team, how much you can gel together.
Yeah, strength in numbers, guys. I think that was a really big and common theme throughout the games. And another thing that I picked up on was the whole debt trap. Falling in love with money and using money to buy your own happiness and what it sort of ultimately leads, right? You guys all know that saying, right? That money can't buy happiness, and I think this is a really big message. If not the biggest message in Squid Game, in my opinion, anyway, right? Because obviously everyone looks at things differently, but I think I saw the whole idea of money not being able to actually buy your happiness was a big one. Justin did put a few notes up here that money isn't as important as most people think, because it doesn't actually buy happiness. So I really like that one.
I think it's true because basically, of course, we need money, right? People need to work, people need to pay off certain things, like electricity, water, mortgage, car, food, all these things, right? There's so much things to pay for. But then at the end of the day, even if you didn't have as much money as you like, would you rather, let's say, work 100-hour weeks, 200-hour weeks, just to earn a lot of money? Like, sure, yes, it may be nice to get that much, a big amount, but then what are you sacrificing to get it? Sacrificing family time with friends, even your personal health, your mental health. So you see all these things. Is it worth it in the end? I mean, if you're trying to be a billionaire, then that's a different story. But for the general population, I don't think it's worth, trying to just invest in yourself, like making sure you earn so much money in a short period of time, because that's not what life is all about.
Exactly.
You don't need money to have fun, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. But of course, you need money to do things. But if you want happiness, if you want satisfaction, money is not the answer.
Exactly.
Think of it like this. Let's say you have all the money in the world and you can buy anything you want. Will you be satisfied? No, right? Because you'll always want more. You'll always want, that next iPhone, that next Apple MacBook, that next car. So you see how these things, they can really influence us. No matter how many things or possessions you may have, you're always going to want some more, whether it's a small thing or a big thing. So I think it's an important lesson that, money is not everything.
Those are some really good points, guys. And honestly, if you're young out there and listening to us, in this episode, I think what I want you guys to take away from us is, given that, look, I know we're not that far from you younger people out there, but the thing is, we've experienced, a little bit more, right? I think one thing I want to share is a lot of people in our generation tend to buy things not really necessarily for themselves, but more to impress others, right? There's always that whole idea that you have to have the best new phone, right? You always have to have the best new clothes, most expensive shoes, right? Look, I'm not taking it away from you guys. If you guys love your shoes, then, great, right? But if you're only doing it to impress others and, for your own sort of little clout or popularity, right? Then that's not always the right way to go. which is a really good segue to our next topic, right? The whole idea of addiction and greed.
Addiction and greed.
Which is a very big theme in these episodes, guys. I know a lot of you guys sort of watch this as an entertainment thing, but we did decide to sort of analyze it in a deeper
Well,
sense,
this
right?
is a podcast, so we were going to analyze it.
Exactly. So, hopefully you guys enjoy. For those of you guys that are doing the HSC, shout out to you guys, because I know maybe some of these techniques we'll mention you guys can use in your next essay or narrative. Who knows?
Yeah, don't actually use that, but you can always if you need ideas, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, look, I'll put it back to Justin. I think this is one of his main notes here, so we'll see what he has to say about this one. Actually,
Well, what do you think about the quote, right? Addiction is dangerous. Do you think that's a good thing or a negative thing?
Look, personally, I am addicted to many things in a bad way and a good way. One is I consider myself a bit of a thrill seeker. I think I'm too much of a thrill seeker, if anything. So, look, if you're addicted to something like your hobby or your passion, that you get so caught up into it that you end up, revolving your whole life around it, then I think it becomes a bad thing. Addiction, in a sense, could also be a good thing, because enough addiction could actually motivate you and drive you further. Like loving something so much. I think you have to have a good balance. That's just my opinion on it. Others see it differently. So that's me, I think.
Well,
yeah,
I agree with that. Addiction, it depends on what it is. If it's a hobby, something you really love, and if you're benefiting from it, if others are benefiting from it, then why not? But then in this context, in the entire Squid Game, the reason why everyone is in this situation is because they're all in debt. They all owe tons and tons of money because they all gamble, or they made poor financial choices. So everyone has a money problem, and they basically bit more than they could chew. So that's why they were in this game in the first place, to earn some cash, earn some money. But with that being said, it's true, because if you earn money and you're spending it, you're going to be addicted to that lifestyle. And
exactly.
we're not trying to tell people change your lifestyle, but have a look at yourself. If there's things that you shouldn't be buying, then maybe consider. Or maybe what I like to do, before you buy something, give it a day or two before you actually commit, because sometimes in those 1 or 2 days you may decide to change your mind and say, oh, I actually didn't need an item, so I don't need to buy it. And boom, you save like $100, $200, and you can use that for a rainy day. But then addiction, whether that's money or even eating is a bad addiction, especially if the food is like unhealthy, like full of sugar, sweets, not eating any like vegetables, or not eating a healthy diet, then that could be dangerous as well. So you see how it's not just a financial aspect, but it's also something to do with our lifestyle, the way we live. So if we're not careful, then this could eat us up. This could actually be such a dangerous thing if we don't realize it. And before we know it, we're already too deep into this hole that we can't get out. And this is the problem with many gamblers today. All they do is just gamble and gamble. They just pull down the slot machine after another. And that's because they're already too far down. And it really takes a huge willpower to get out of something like that. So I think, at this point, this series, they really emphasize that addiction is really dangerous if you're not careful.
I think I'm going to pull you guys into a little sort of corner here, right? I think I am probably really equipped to give our audience some advice on the whole gambling thing, right? So, for those of you guys that know me closely would know that I sort of had that problem, a while back. And admittedly, guys, speaking from experience, it is a really bad thing to get yourself into that. The whole mentality that, especially if you start winning, right? Because, it's not sort of a bragging thing, but I was winning, and, you can only win so much until you start going on a slump again, right? So, guys, to tell you guys the truth, for those of you guys that, think that, there's no way you'll get addicted to these things, trust me, I've been there, I've done that, and I'm actually glad to say that I haven't done it in a long time. And it's something that sort of plays really close to my heart, and I really hope that this message gets to you guys, that gambling for fun, maybe one day, but not something. I used to go at least every 2 or 3 days or so, with friends. And it sort of just got to the point where I sort of had to sit myself down and say, hey, look, this isn't working anymore. And, it's a really tough thing to do to yourself, guys, so yeah, we're not going to pull too much time out of this whole thing, because this is a whole different topic again, like I said. But I thought I'd share that little experience because it is sort of related to what Justin has said. So stay at school, kids.
Yeah.
Wink, wink.
Gay!
Cool. Yeah. So maybe we can go on to the next point because it kind of relates to what we just talked about. So this point is all about desperation and greed, bringing out the worst in people. So what do you think about that point?
That is a good one. Let me think of a situation where I was so desperate for something, right? Okay, let's go back to when we were 18, right? Now, money is a big factor when it comes to desperation. It's always going to be in the same sentence normally, right? So I remember before when I was 18, I was super desperate to get my first ever computer that I regrettably actually chose to pay it on a finance term, which for those of you guys that don't know, you actually pay a lot more. So my advice to 18-year-olds again, if you're listening, stay away from those things. Don't buy into those things because look, I think I don't want to go into a whole financial advice sort of thing, but I think desperation can be played, can be a really bad and negative friend. There's good desperation as well. I think if you're desperate to succeed, maybe if we sentence it that way, then go for it.
Yeah.
If you're willing to go through it all and just go through the mud and dirt and just to get to the other end of the tunnel, then that could also be classified as desperation, wouldn't you say? All right.
Yeah.
So that to me is look, like we've already mentioned a few times already, that a lot of these life lessons, they can mean different things to everyone, right? To some people, they can control their greed in a way that, maybe the greed is they try to, save as much money to help other people. It gets too deep, right? So I don't want to continue, but I'll pass it back on to Justin, see what he has to share for us.
Yeah, cool. Because I wrote this point in relation to
Yes.
To Ali's death scene. So Ali is the Indian guy, so the odd one out in Squid Game, and
It was
basically
very sad.
the way he died was because his partner Sang-woo, he was very desperate because he was losing the marble game, and he kind of deceived Ali, to look for other contestants while he filled his bag with rocks and took out the marbles. So he was on the brink of, I guess, getting shot in the head. But then you see how desperate he became because he knew that if he didn't do anything, then his participation in the game is over. So then this point really shows us how when we're on the brink of losing, or in this case, death, then we'll do desperate things. It's a human nature for us to survive, to find all sorts of ways to survive, and it's a big point. Sometimes we may not think we have this kind of killer instinct inside us, but if you're in a situation like that, then you do anything to survive. So yeah, desperation is such an underrated point, and I think it's a lesson we need to learn. You may be the nicest guy in the room, but then when it's time to act, how will you respond? Will you respond in a deceitful way, or will you accept defeat, or will you try and find a smart way out? So it asks us all these questions, and there's so many potential avenues that we could explore.
You know what? I just thought of a challenge time right now. I don't know if you guys noticed, right? The reason this show is actually so great, my personal opinion, right? The reason shows like this are so great is because they actually put normal people in it. I don't mean like human beings, because obviously they're human, right? But I mean normal is like relatable, in that film. Now I forgive you guys because please forgive me guys, because I don't actually know many of their names yet. So we're gonna just put them in the video somewhere. We'll put it up here. So basically, if you guys noticed, there is a charismatic guy, there's a shy girl, there's a there's a strong and brute kind of like I will take over the game kind of guy, right? There's always, look, if you guys think about it really hard in your lives, there will always be people like that. There's always going to be a bully. There's always going to be a charismatic guy that can get his way. There's always going to be a girl that is just super, Also charismatic. I wasn't gonna say annoying because I don't want to
So you
sound
were
really.
gonna call, there's always
I
going to be
know.
a shy girl.
You know, well, look, to tell you the truth, there was that little shy girl, which I don't know her name, but we're gonna put all the casts here, guys, and I challenge you guys to think about it really hard and think about in your own lives. Who are you in this? If you were in Squid Game, who would you be? Would you be the main character that sort of uses his charisma to get through things? If you guys notice in the first few scenes, he sort of tricked and played with the kid. Remember the whole vending machine? I thought that was pretty cool, right? Getting a gift through the vending machine. Personally, if I was broke, that is something I would do. And I really relate to that guy. I'm not calling myself main character vibes or anything like that, but it's more like I feel like that is something I would do. And it's also a form of desperation. So that's my little challenge to you guys watching up until this point. Please really think about who you are in this film and why you are who you are, right? Which is a deeper sort of question, I think, but I'll leave you guys to that.
Also, we expect to
Yeah.
see this on our Instagram reel, guys. So maybe
Yes,
we
please.
can go on to the next point. This point also kind of relates. Its appearances can be deceiving, and basically this point we see in the whole game that there was an old guy, right? Who ended up being the mastermind behind the whole thing. So the
Yeah.
old guy, Ilnam, he was the outlier. Everybody was between the ages of, like, you could say 20 to 40, 20 to 50.
Yeah.
But this guy was like 70, 80, right? So like the odd one out. And yet he was the most powerful guy in the whole game.
Exactly.
And the reason why appearances can be deceiving is because an old man like him is weak, right? Like physically weak, may not offer much value to the team. But then the main character, Jihan, he befriended him. So he was like so caring. He was always looking out for the old man, taking care of him. There was multiple scenes when he would just make sure that the well-being of the old man was correct, like was all right, making sure that he was safe and everything. So you see how he was caring for him. You don't really see that kind of behavior these days. Usually when maybe like a dangerous looking guy, maybe a guy full of tattoos, or maybe a very strong, big, scary guy, you don't really want to approach them, obviously, because they look tough, they look big, scary, but then they could also be the nicest guy in the room. So basically
Exactly.
what we're trying to say is you don't know until you contact them, right? Until you talk to them, until you attempt to get to know them. So that point in this whole game, it really emphasizes that matter, because everybody always wanted to look for the strongest character. Everybody wanted to look for the most capable guy or girl, but then ignoring lesser people that you think are less, but they could just as be good as you, or even better. So that's a big takeaway.
And never ever judge a book by its cover, right?
Yes.
I'm sure you guys have all heard of that saying. Another thing I wanted to add is don't fall into stereotypes. I know a big thing in our generation, especially, is with the whole social media craze and everything, just I guess viral news just spreads so quickly now that overnight you could be either a sensation, you could be the new stereotype. The whole idea of Karens has been a big deal lately. And look, don't judge a book by its cover, guys. I think that's something I try to be, but obviously sometimes subconsciously, even though I'm a nice guy and try to be friends with everyone, which is close to impossible sometimes. But yeah, I will leave it at that. I don't want to ramble on again.
Cool. So then our next point is,
yes,
kindness can come from the people you least expect. So this point, again, it's big, right? There was an example in the first game when Jihan got saved by Ali at the end of red light, green light. Like, he was gonna die, but then Ali saved him with one hand. Like, imagine that actually looks harder than it looks. Imagine holding a guy with one hand, not letting him move or fall, and also balancing your own weight while being frozen. That's very hard. So props to him for being able to hold someone while managing his own weight. But it just goes to show how kindness can come from basically anywhere. People you least expect can be the most kindest person in the room, and sometimes we may not be thankful for that enough, or we may not notice it enough, but kindness can come from anyone.
And quality over quantity, guys. I am a true believer in that. It's not the days you spend with someone, I think. It's the days that count. Sort of, the little moments, and like Justin has said already a few times, that sometimes at least, you get help from the least people that you expect. You don't expect to get help from, a friend you've only known for a year. But I've been, I'm closer to some of my friends now than I ever been with my high school friends. So look, sometimes. There's a lot of people that you just don't know. I think.
That's true.
Yeah.
But then with that being said, of course,
Mm.
you need to have a balance, which brings us to our next point.
Yes.
Nice guys finish last. So so basically, if you're too kind, too nice, then
Yeah.
people could also take advantage of you.
Yeah.
I think for those of you listening, I'm sure there's many examples out there where people have tried to be a bit nice, maybe way too nice, and then people exploit that. People can take advantage of you. So you also have to be aware of the situation. It's good to be nice, it's good to help others, but then it could reach a point where people just take your kindness for granted and they use you, and you also don't want that. You also have to look after yourself. So what do you think of that point, Tristan?
Well, I did just mention that I'm a bit of a nice guy when it comes to these things. Forgiving easy is probably one of my biggest weakness in terms of who I am as a person. So look, I guess speaking from experience, guys, people have walked all over me, and sometimes it is something that you should be really, really careful with. Be trusting, but don't be trusting that you give your whole self to someone. I guess back then when I was a little younger, probably in my early teens, I would never forget what my mom told me, that you have to make sure that you always leave something for yourself. Whether or not you're going to get into a relationship with someone, a romantic one that is, or friendship, friends with your colleagues at work, you always have to. Don't throw your whole self into it. Don't just give 100% of yourself. Just make sure you leave a tiny bit. That way, there's always room for yourself, I think. So that's really something that stuck to me all these years. And I think a lot of you younger people can learn to it as well. Because a lot of you guys are probably going to be getting into your first few romantic relationships and realize that, look, at the end of the day, sometimes, it is just you. So yeah, I'm not going to get into the whole relationship thing, but we'll leave it at that. But it has been a really good episode, and I don't know if you have anything else to add, Justin, to our little Squid Game life lesson episode.
I think we have one more point.
Yes, let's finish it with a bang.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you have?
The last point is being last isn't always the worst. And the best example from Squid Game was the glass game where they had to walk on the glass panels. Jian had a choice to choose between 1 to 16, and ultimately he chose 16. To others, that looked like a disadvantage, but when they saw the game, they wanted to be number 16. I can tell you that. So
yeah,
being last sometimes could be the best thing. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, in life, you may have friends or people that you're close to. They may be, working their way through life very fast. They maybe have a house, a car, or they look very independent. Raising up a family, all these things. But at the end of the day, it's not a race. Everyone has their own situation, and sometimes, being the last one to do all these things may not always be the worst thing. So, just if you're worried about expectations or what people think of you, or they're saying you have to hurry up or else you'll miss out on the good things, don't listen to them, because the best ears to listen to are yourself. Only you are the one that can tell you what to do. People can give you an opinion, people can tell you how to do certain things, but then you have to follow that gut feeling inside you. And whether or not you finish first or last, then that's up to you. But don't let people's expectations affect what you want to achieve in life.
Exactly. We all run our own timelines, guys. I think what's great about life now is there's so many pathways that we can choose to go to. We have people like I did see in your notes there, you had Mr. Beast written down. There's so many ways to get, to define your own success, right? Heck, I think if my parents knew that YouTubers were gonna make the most money in 2021, they would call us crazy, right? Imagine someone just taking a video of themselves. I don't know,
minutes.
for 10 minutes and then they make $1 million on a video. Maybe even, look, I'm probably even underestimating this already. It's probably way more than that, right?
Who knows? Yeah, it's a lot.
You know, even people that play games all day make more money sometimes than doctors, right?
Yeah,
It's kind of
basically.
crazy. You've got I think the main idea is, you know, I'm not trying to say you have to be rich and you have to be wealthy and whatnot. You know, I think we have to change the narrative, guys. This is gonna be a real time again, Instagram real time. No, I think let's change the narrative, guys. Instead of chasing the cash or the money, which is what something we can learn in Squid Game, instead chase happiness, guys. You know, think about really deep, you know, in your heart and in your mind, what makes me happy. You know, that is a question I ask myself every day. And honestly, like, that is why I'm doing a podcast. That is why I'm driving 3 hours just to take a photo, which is what I did over the weekend. Guys, I spent 15 minutes on a cliffside and I drove 3 hours for it. To some, that may be crazy, but guys, that's what makes me happy, right? So I will leave you guys to that lesson. And honestly, guys, let's change the narrative one more time. Instead of chasing the cash and the wealth and the fame, chase what makes you happy. You guys will thank me for it.
And if you're the last person to do these things, it doesn't matter. You know, as long as you do it, it's fine. You know, being last isn't always the worst. So remember that.
Trust the process.
Trust the process. Yeah.
100%, guys. If you learn to love the process, it's not going to seem that long. Believe me. So we hope that all our stories and experiences sort of influence you guys, and hopefully, you know, we start hearing from you guys as well, your stories, and we'd love to have the younger generation on here too sometime.
Cool.
So cool. Let's kick things off by, I guess, ending it now. So what should we any last few notes there you've got?
Not much, but basically, guys, thanks for listening. And if you haven't watched Squid Game already, then you can watch it on Netflix. It's currently everywhere on the internet, so watch it before the hype dies down, and let us know what you think, and let us know if you can relate to these points that we mentioned.
Yes, of course. And as always, guys, we hope you guys have enjoyed. And also, by the time this will be uploaded, happy Freedom Day, Sydney. And I know Victoria is going to be getting out very soon. So shout out to my Victorians out there. And hopefully the rest hopefully the rest of Australia will catch up soon, guys. And we hope that you know, the whole world opens up again. You know, I do miss being on a plane, and that is it. We're gonna keep rambling on again. So we'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you again for watching.
Thank you for listening. Bye.
See you, everyone.